to another episode of the Two Idiots Podcast. I'm Reg.
I'm Randy.
And joining us this week, we have someone with a lot more degrees than either Randy or myself have, the CEO of Inspire Community Outreach in Winnipeg, Miss Angela Taylor. Welcome here.
Welcome.
So, how many exactly do you have? I'm reading here, there's a BA with a bunch of stuff, a post-bac, whatever that is, a master's degree. Can you explain kind of what those all are and kind of, for the...
Lay it out for the laymen
among us.
Lay it out. Yeah. Well, I have a Bachelor of Arts in psychology and sociology, and like pretty much everyone and their dog has that. And then and then I went into getting a post-bac in education because I love education and I educate a lot for my job.
What's a post-bac?
A post-bac, it's kind of like a master's without a thesis. So it's like a super intense couple of years. You custom pick your courses and you can make it specialize in whatever you want. And so I chose to specialize in counseling and inclusion because those are the two things that I love most.
Sure.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. And then my master's was in disability studies. And so again, you get to customize your graduate studies, and I customized mine specifically about supporting families with complex needs.
Sure.
So yeah, it's a huge passion of mine. And I was just I just loved that degree. It was really a lot of fun. And I graduated last year and I thought, I don't know, maybe I'll go back again.
Well, there you go.
And I did, and I am. So I'm getting my PhD.
Right. That's good. That's awesome.
I like it.
I feel like some people are like, once a student, always a student kind of thing, right?
Don't say
it. My wife's a teacher, so like she's one of those people, right?
Yeah.
She always likes
I say lifelong learner.
There you go.
I'm a
there
lifelong learner.
I consider myself that too, but I don't have any fancy initials after my name, unfortunately.
But you still fancy. You still fancy.
We fancy.
That's right.
I'm rocking a hockey jersey, so whatever that means.
Yeah.
So likely this isn't your typical interview, I suppose, with what you do and what you're involved in. This isn't probably likely what you would normally do, but
it is not.
Welcome here.
That makes it even more exciting.
Ooh, yeah, that's true. So basically, so we mentioned Inspire Community Outreach. That's still going on. I imagine COVID kind of messed around with that a little bit, or
a little bit. It actually.
Can you describe kind of what all that is?
Sure. So I founded Inspire 7 years ago to support youth and families with unique challenges like disabilities and behavior challenges, and celebrate the strengths of families.
Sure.
So we do all kinds of like education and therapy and all kinds of really cool things for families, but essentially filling social services and mental health services gaps.
Okay.
There's tons of great stuff out there all through
Just
the
in
province. Well, no, we've branched off.
Okay.
We're all through Manitoba. Like I was just seeing a family just a few minutes ago.
Okay.
So we're all over Manitoba, and we actually are into Dryden as well.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay, good. That's awesome.
Yeah, no, that's hugely important, especially, with COVID, that is, an added stressor for most people, but just in general, when there's a lot of people around here and everywhere that the basic safety nets don't catch, or they just don't know how to find what they need to find. So
and there's always gaps in certain systems like that, right? Like we always hear about, CFS and stuff like that. There's always things that could be improved or could be done, and not everyone can do everything, right? So
absolutely.
It's nice to have someone to be able to come in and help where maybe they can't.
Yeah. Well, and I specialize in complex neurology. So like when there's lots and lots of brain differences, they all intersect and create something even more amazing. So I specialize in those kids, and there's almost nothing made for those children because they're not included in research. They're not included in a lot of stuff.
Right. Because they're outliers,
like they don't fit like a specific spectrum or anything.
Because they got everything.
Yeah.
If you've got autism and anxiety and ADHD and a sleeping disorder and a bowel disorder and like who are you going to send?
Right.
Social worker?
Yeah.
Probably they'll be great for 10% or 20% of that kid's needs, and they'll be awesome. But what about the rest?
Yeah.
What about that parent who's not coping well in their relationship with their kiddo? That's really normal when you have a kid with complex needs. So that's like my passion, is to like just rejoice and celebrate the strength of those families and just attend to a couple of the challenges that they're having so they can succeed more.
For sure.
That's so often the thing too that we forget the parents' involvement, right? Because we focus on the people that need the help, which is what we should do, but then you kind of forget that the parents are involved and they're stressed out, and
they often put on such a strong exterior because they're like, well, I have to be strong for the kid, right? So they don't get that support because all the emotional stuff is kind of behind the scenes, I think.
Oh, for sure. And also in society, we got to be perfect.
Yeah.
We got to be the perfect mom, the perfect dad, the perfect everything. And
especially on social media.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Like on social media, I often will be like, I'm a hot mess today. I want people to know like there is nobody who's perfect.
No.
It's real life. Right?
What is perfect anyway, really, right?
Yeah,
it's relative and it's subjective, and what's perfect to you might not be perfect to somebody else.
Exactly.
And what the hell's perfect anyway?
What is it anyways? I don't want to be perfect anymore. Not one time, not one moment of my life.
I mean, I've been perfect a little, but not.
If we're being honest, but we've all got our moments. Come on.
But it's important, and so we should touch. You reached out to us, so I'm curious why.
Well,
and how did you find us?
Well, so I know a lot of your past guests.
Oh, is that right?
So I was listening to some things that you guys had posted, like your podcast, and I was like, these guys are hilarious.
Yes.
And so much of like my job as an executive is very professional and serious, and like a very polished exterior. And people are often surprised that like I'm a single mom of 3 kids.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Like, life is busy and I'm a goof. And so like, I want people to know that like, there's a joyful side too.
Right.
And for everybody, no matter how they look in society, there's another side.
Yeah,
for sure.
There's a messy side. There's a funny side. There's a hot mess side.
For
right?
sure.
And that's what I wanted people to know. So this is a different type of interview that I would normally do, but I felt like it was needed, and I really want to push the envelope of like expectations people have of themselves.
Sure. And I think it's also good as well because we have listeners that have a range of mental health stuff, or they're functional and they're not necessarily little kids. I hope, but that's kind of what we. I mean, of course, we're idiots, and that's kind of the fun of it, and we blend in goofy crap, but we also try to use whatever we have to reach people, right?
And learn ourselves, right? Broaden our horizons a little bit. Like I know since we've done it, like I've learned way more than I ever would have not doing the show, right? And just opening those doors for people to have, if we can have a conversation with somebody and then it helps somebody else reach out to them because they heard us talk with them, right? That's all we can really hope for. So
we actually recently had your cousin actually message us saying that he was watching a movie and he saw Adam Beach in it. He's like, hey, I saw him on the podcast. He had no idea who he was before we talked about it, but I mean, that's pretty base level, but we want to do more than that, right?
For sure.
So I'm glad you reached out. Who did you know that we've had on?
Oh, there's a few people, but Dougal was the one that I saw. He had posted a picture, and like I'm a big fan of his. And
what a nice guy.
Yeah, he's super nice.
Yeah. We're still trying to get some conservatives on, but they don't reply to me.
No. I don't think they like us.
No, I messaged.
We've talked to the enemies already. They can't talk to us,
and they have no reason to talk to us. It won't benefit them. They're already in power. Speaking of which, how about Kelvin Gertson getting a little flack recently? Talk about that. I don't know if we mentioned that before, but I don't know if you saw it going on the education minister now? Basically posting sort of anti-vaxxy stuff, which isn't super great when you're a minister in the province, but
I'll be honest with you, I have to stay far away from any of that stuff because from let's say negative or like people getting really upset on social media because like my job is so important to me, and the stuff I read in a file or that a family tells me, like I gotta have energy and spoons for that. Like if I'm watching like people getting upset about
for sure
someone saying something they shouldn't say, I'm gonna get upset. I'm gonna get so upset. I'm fiery. I got red hair. You understand?
I hear you.
Me fiery. And so like I am like this is a rule I have for myself. Angela, you do not look at that stuff. Like stay away, far away.
That's smart.
Honestly, I have to. I have to.
Frankly,
do it.
More of us should do that. And very often I wish I could do it more, but then I'll see something, I'm like, damn it, now I'm in.
Sometimes you just can't help yourself, right?
But I think it is important to disconnect. And what was it? I've heard there's a thing going around that's 6, was it, basically you take a whole day off with no phone, no social media, no nothing, to try and help your brain, relax.
Give you a bit of a reset and chill out, right?
I think would be important. Phones should just do it automatically. You didn't get an option. It's just like,
this
today
is your
it just
day.
won't turn on.
This day it's off.
No matter what your thing is. They got around with it.
I just go in the forest. Like,
smart.
I just go in the forest and I put my music on and I'm just like one with the trees.
Hope the bears and cougars don't come.
Well, if they do, they do. I don't know.
Smart.
Hey there, guys.
2020 has been a year. If
You know what?
it's my
Honestly,
time, it's my time.
That's how I feel. I'd be like, hey, how are ya? Yeah. This is my day today, okay?
Just sits down very passively. And
Yeah.
just, all right, buddy, you have at her.
Just let me listen to my favorite song and repeat real quick. Let me enjoy it.
Hey, you have a special playlist. This is what I'm going out with. But I feel the same way, even on planes. You know, if there's turbulence, like my wife gets kind of like, she's all, if there's any turbulence, she's like, oh, fuck, what's going to happen? And I'm like, I just look over at her. What are you going to do about it? Like, it's just, if it goes down, it goes down. I'm just going to keep reading my book until we crash. It doesn't, I don't know. Yeah. I'm just sort of like, let life happen as it happens. But maybe I'm a psychopath. I don't know.
That's legit one of the ways to deal with my anxiety. Like on the scale of anxiety, I'm very high, which, is a life skill. I don't know.
Sure.
But also that's how I talk to my anxiety when I'm like, oh no, what if? I don't know. Yeah. So what if?
Yeah. I mean, I tried it because, again, I mean, I don't think she'll mind that I mention it because we've mentioned it before, but my wife suffers from anxiety as well.
Sweet. And congratulations.
So I'm often
seriously.
Yeah. And I'm often I try to be the voice of, reason sounds bad. You know what I mean? I try to like...
I do the same with Darius all the time. If
she's spiraling, I'm always just, just try and take the edge off, or try to give her some grounding or whatever. You have any tips, seeing as you have all the degrees?
Hey, you're the smart one here. Come on, give us the answers.
So I've lived with my anxiety my entire life, and I do a lot of self-talk, and I have like a mental health toolkit that I rely on, which includes like contacting my best friend, so because she's my anchor, and she does the same for me. Yeah. Kind of like it is what it is. Yeah. I also I need time to decompress every single day. If I don't do it, if I don't have these rules for myself of a hot bath, I need to go to bed at a certain time, I need to make sure I'm eating nutritious foods. If I don't do that, I will struggle, period. Yeah. Because high anxiety person, we're unique and we're wired differently. It's amazing. It's a blessing. We're super good at anything that could go wrong. We're gonna know. We're gonna prep you for it, right? We're also really good people too to have when things go wrong, because we're we got everything for that.
Yeah.
Oh, is someone bleeding? No problem. I got Band-Aids in my purse.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
It's like a doomsday prepper.
We are. So we're amazing. We're amazing. Like one of the things I often will talk about at conferences is it's a superpower, because when I take all my gaggle of children into a park and there's a person with a dog that looks a little too, I spot that dog in a sweet second. Right. Other families, they're all rejoicing. They're carefree. They don't give a shit. I'm like, there's a dog in the left quadrant. And I'm between that dog and my children all times. It's a superpower. It truly is. And also there's the management, right? Yeah. With high anxiety often comes high body charge. You have to manage your body charge, because if you don't, charge? It's like your intensity, your energy level.
Okay, yeah.
Right? That's like that busy bee thing that we do.
Right, yeah.
If you don't manage it, it's going to bite you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that means every day, some people are like meditation, that works for some people. Yeah. Great. Mm-hmm. Find what works for you. Mm-hmm. For me, it's music. For me, it's art. Yeah. For me, it's the forest. It's my best friend. It's other activities. You have to have your list. Go do your list every single day, and that's how you manage yourself. That's without judgment, without criticism. That this is how my body's made.
Yeah,
for sure.
Own and that shit.
That's important. To remove the stigmas and it's you, and to treat it as something that you just have. I always say, if you break your leg, no one's going to give you shit for taking some time off, right?
Yeah.
That's
or
your
that
brain,
you need to
man.
get it treated, or you need to work through it, or however you deal with it. But there's no shame in it, as far as I don't suffer from anxiety, so I struggle with getting on that level sometimes. But I've been trying to make progress over the last while, and it's not always easy, but do what I can.
It's tough,
It's a hypersensitivity to fear, right? Like your brain is wired for fear, which is awesome in a lot of ways, because you can prevent a lot of danger from happening, especially to your family and to yourself and your body. But then the other side is that you have to manage it, right? And like you said, it's body and brain. It's really all the same stuff. Without stigma, this is the brain you were given. Yeah. Congratulations. Yeah.
So I think we're moving in the right direction as a society in that way. The whole it's okay to not be okay, or it's removing the stigmas and just being open to discuss it, whereas
for sure
10, 15, 5 years ago,
it wasn't. 5 years ago, it was a completely different world.
Yeah, exactly. But you're absolutely right about like prepping, because when we go anywhere out traveling or whatever, you'll look in my wife's bag and she'll have, you can't poop, we got pills for that. You want to poop, we got pills for that. You got a headache, you got nausea, you got heartburn, you got
where's her award?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Bravo.
There's as much the same way. We go anywhere and there's like 3 suitcases full of stuff just in case we need something.
You know what? And probably you will.
For sure. Absolutely. Yeah.
You might need,
or somebody else will.
Oh, you know what? That's true. There's always somebody that needs something.
Yeah.
You know, don't worry. We got on the first floor, room 10. There's somebody with anxiety.
Yeah.
So she's got everything. Yeah. Don't worry about it. But isn't that interesting though? Like a lot of the people that I know are women who have super high anxiety. Like if you just think about like, why is that? Is it all neurological, or is there a pressure that women have to be perfect?
I would say that societal pressure is a big factor.
And I think also it might be something to do with, I mean, of course, there's definitely societal pressure for women to be perfect and be nurturing and be ready and be whatever. But I think also there's probably more men that have it that won't admit it.
Oh, that's true.
So a lot of guys will just either self-medicate or just shove it all down and explode and do whatever they got to do.
Because it's acceptable to be angry. Exactly. For men, you can be either happy or angry, but nothing else. You like don't have feelings. Just be mad.
I hate that. Yeah.
It's bullshit. It's bullshit. We all have all the things.
Oh, of course.
That's how we're made, right?
And as I've gotten older, I've been trying to be more introspective and even just be open to either be vulnerable or like tell friends that you love them or, you know, be honest with your feelings. As a guy, which especially around here, hypermasculinity is a thing.
Yeah, sure. It is.
If you're not riding a quad every weekend or something, or, you know, shotgunning beers.
What you doing, bro?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
You
big old lady boy.
Super fun. That's, I don't know what that is.
Yeah, I'm a guy that cries like.
Yeah, you cry a lot.
Drop of a hat.
You know what?
Yeah.
Redhead.
Yeah.
It's our thing.
Yeah,
it's
emotional.
Our thing.
It's the roller coaster.
You know what? We're actually wired differently. Like our whole body is wired differently to be more sensitive.
Huh.
So like,
wonder why that is. Why?
Because we're amazing.
Yeah.
That's why.
Well, I mean,
suck it, Red.
Yeah.
Hey. I've red-ish.
I know. You're part ginger.
I'm half ginger-ish. I'm
I'll
a day
squint
walker.
to see.
Yeah, it's in there.
The specks are in the beard.
It's in there.
Oh, okay.
It's tough to see. My mom was a full ginger when she was a kid. My dad was too, but they both kind of, as I got older, I don't know, the hair went brown.
See, mine did the same. I was like, almost like yours when I was a kid, and then it would just, as I got older, it went darker, and then this just all came in orange. So.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I still sunburn like a ginger, so that's my claim to fame.
Yeah. Oh, I got a sunburn yesterday. It was awesome.
Awesome.
It was
great
so
when you get
great.
a sunburn in like spring and +5, and you're like, I'm gonna burn today.
Not any rays.
There's a tan right under this red. Yeah. Okay, there's a tan.
You got to get the base burn, and then you're just a light pink all summer.
That's what I do. This is me tanned right now.
That's all summer right there. That's as tan as I get.
Perpetually reddish brown, Rowan red, or whatever that pencil crayon color is.
Yeah, I didn't really know I was, like, I didn't have the time to think that I was even a ginger until I was single last year. And then everyone was like, oh, you're a ginger. That's so great. I'm like, what? Yeah. I am? And apparently it's a thing. That's what this is. I had no idea it was a thing.
It's a tiny percentage, actually, but I know a bunch.
Yeah.
But globally, it's not very, they have like, I think there's a
festival every year in...
Where's the festival?
I think it's done in Scotland or Ireland. It's one of them.
Interesting.
But there's like just thousands of gingers descending.
Apparently, the biggest percentage is in those two countries for whatever reason. Too much potatoes, not enough sun,
some kind of mutation. Well, maybe because it's gloomy there all the time. Maybe they need the pale white skin to absorb as much vitamin D, right?
Yeah,
some sort of Celtic magic. Yeah,
I think it's Celtic magic.
That's why we need.
That's what we're gonna say.
Also, the translucent skin.
There you go.
It's
Celtic magic.
You can see my insides. It's super good.
We're day walkers. That's
yeah. Steal your soul, cow. Goddamn it, cow. Yeah, ginger.
One freckle for every soul.
Wait, what were we talking about? Gingers?
I don't know how we got there.
So men should talk about their anxiety.
Yes.
That's how we got there.
Yes.
This is what we do here, folks. For those of you that are new here, we touch on important things and then we make fun of other things. That's sort of the fact that any politicians have ever spoken to us ever.
I know, right?
It's actually amazing. It's actually amazing.
It's mind blowing to me, and they didn't even listen to any of it.
No,
they're like, "Yeah, this is the interview. Just send it." I'm like, okay, we'll do.
Yep, so basically, we'll be running the campaign trail next election.
Yeah, I'll vote for you.
Yeah, we'll run.
Do it.
We'll have a joint platform.
Yeah.
Weeb Hayden 2020. That's
there you go.
No, we're not running this year. Next year, year after.
Whatever year it's going to be.
Whatever year.
Well, two idiots ticket.
Yeah. But more dudes should talk about, their feel. Like I've dealt with anxiety for years. And for me, like I smoke a lot of weed. I won't lie. That's how I deal with it. Right. Yeah. That's my thing. Like I come home from work and I'm all amped up. Right. And I got the kiddos running around and I'm like, yeah, I just need a break for a second. Right. So I go do my thing. That mellows me out. Before the show, I often have, because I'm a very socially anxious person. Like,
and I force them to talk to people.
For people coming in every day, for me just like to talk to that I've never met before, I'm like, fuck, what am I going to say? Like, what am I going to do? Are they going to like me? Or like, you know what I mean? So I don't want to sound stupid. I'm talking to someone with 8 degrees, right? I'm like, I don't want to be that guy who sounds like an idiot. So for me, that's how I kind of cope with it. I don't think it's overkill.
It's just it sounds like it's one of the tools that you have in your toolbox. Yeah, right? Like you connect with your partner, you talk about it. For you also have that. Yeah, and we all have lots of things, right?
Yeah,
for sure.
And she's very high anxiety as well, my wife. So for her, it's like, I find her release end of the day is going to Instagram or watching like the Kardashian shows, because for her that's just like, it's mindless stuff. Because she spends all day worrying about kids at school, and then she has to come home, worry about her kid here, right? How's she doing in daycare, all that.
Yeah.
So for her, when she jumps into her phone, and maybe we're just sitting on the couch, whatever, I'm not mad that she's doing that, because that's her de-stress. Right? I can see her shoulders go from like scrunched, and then she finally lets go of the day.
So that's her way of coping with it, right? I just saw a post today actually that kind of sums that up. They're kind of, whether you're working hard on something, whether you're sitting on the couch mindlessly watching whatever, whether you're doing this, doing that, you're amazing. You know, like you're doing what you need to do. Of course, it can be taken to an extreme where, you know, either if you're super depressed and you can't do anything, right, then that's sort of that. But in general, you do whatever you need to do to get through the day.
For sure.
And well, I think it's just that, like, as a professional, we say to people, like, I gave you permission to rest.
Yeah.
I gave you permission to, you know, share how you feel. I give you permission to, like, be upset or to be not okay sometimes. Yeah. Like, I give you permission. Like, if you need permission, I'm going to give it to you right now.
I think a lot of people do, because there's so much pressure to, like you said, be perfect, or
keep it cool,
get this done. These are the expectations I have, blah, 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 blah. And if someone can just say, take the time. I get that sometimes, too, where even if I'm playing video games or reading a book or doing something that isn't technically productive, quote unquote, whatever that means,
right,
then I feel a little bit of guilt. I'm like, I could be doing this, I could be fixing that, I could be whatever. And I have to really tell myself, I'm like, shut up. Like, I'm going to do this, and if I feel okay with it, it's not wasting my time, right?
For sure.
We need to rest.
Yeah.
We all need to rest, for sure. And I think a lot of us, we've been dealing with this idea of, like, being productive and being perfect and having super high expectations since we were little kids.
Yeah.
And then we hit this, mid-age, and then we're like, I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that anymore. It's horrible.
Yeah.
It's the worst.
Yeah, it's exhausting.
Yeah. It is.
And unnecessary. But yeah, we're kind of stuck in those, I don't know, those blocks or those cookie cutters, right? But fuck them. That's what I say.
I don't know. Explore, like, the lies that you tell yourself. Explore that, the rules that you assumed were for everyone that you have to follow to be a good enough person. Right. Just explore that. Just, like, sit down and, like, pen and paper and write it out, and you'll be shocked at the stuff you come up with.
Yeah. Well, like, and we all know people, and I specifically do as well, myself included, but that are often worried to peel back that cover. People that are going through their life, and you're just like, are you enjoying yourself? Are you comfortable? Are you happy? Are you any of those things? And you know that they're not really spending any time to investigate them. Like it's either all external or it's all nothing, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think it's important that we continue to do that. I don't know.
If you can't, like, sit with yourself alone and love yourself exactly as you are, there's some work to be done.
For sure.
Mm-hmm. And what a perfect opportunity to do it today.
Why not now?
Yeah. What about now?
Yeah. If not now, when?
Well, and if it takes, let's say it takes, I don't know, like a year or 2 years or however long, like in 2 years, it's still 2 years from now.
Yeah.
So either you can start today and do it at your leisure and kind of enjoy the awakening that happens or not.
For sure.
Really, you could do it in 2 years too. It's still great.
Yeah.
I mean, some folks never do it.
For
and
sure.
then they miss out on all the joy of themselves.
There's no deadline, right? Like
there is no deadline.
Yeah. I mean, obviously most people want to do it as quickly as possible or as easily as possible, but sometimes that's just not the way.
But it's also like the joy in the journey.
Mm-hmm.
Like every step of my journey, like over the last couple of years, like having the space to sit with myself and love the parts that, you know, I denied or love the parts that I used to hate.
Yeah.
Like there's even in that, every little tiny step, there's a joy in that. There's an ease, a peacefulness that comes with that.
Yeah.
And that's what I want for everybody.
As all we should.
For sure.
I've never read that, but when we were talking on the messages before we started, you were kind of discussing kind of like giving less fucks as we get older, which is something to aspire to, I think. I've never read the book, The Art of Not Giving a Fuck. Have you read it?
I have.
Yeah. Is it worth reading? Is it
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. Like, you know, as far as books go.
Yeah.
Like,
as far as books go, whatever that means.
I read a lot of books.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
A lot of textbooks, a lot of research and stuff like that. Like it's pretty, I don't know, it's kind of funny. It's kind of light.
I've heard it's kind of pop culture-y or kind of poppy. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Like, you know, if you're looking for something, you know, for sure. For me, like, I feel like I've incorporated so many different ideas and so many things into my life. That's like one piece of 1,000.
Sure.
But, you know, for me, it's just about like being able to sit with myself and kind of exploring blind spots. Like we all have things that we like can't see very well. And then when you talk to people that you really love and trust and you just ask them, like, you know, how am I doing?
Yeah.
You know, they'll tell you, hopefully.
Often.
And then, you know, to me, that's like the biggest blessing I could have ever received is my best friend being like, you a hot mess about this one thing. Okay, you need to work on your shit.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, wow, thank you, Lisa.
Yeah.
And then, you know, and then
Shout
I work
out to
on
Lisa.
it. Lisa.
Yeah. Lisa, whoop whoop.
Yeah, she's the best. But those things have been such treasures in my life, you know, like the blind spots, because we all have them. You can't see them, right? We all have patterns of behavior that they're not the greatest, okay?
No,
They're not the greatest.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, for sure, like read the book if you love reading books, but also just like sit with yourself and like just like shine light on the parts that you put away for a rainy day, because today's a good day for that.
Well, especially during COVID, we've kind of been gifted, which is probably a bad way to say it, but a time to a lot of people were forced to stay at home or forced to not do things and forced to find new ways to occupy yourselves or make progress or be productive in however that is. So I hope that a lot of people were able to use that to whether work on themselves or investigate their relationships, their feelings, their people, whatever. Whether or not that's true, I don't know if they did, but I hope that people were able to. It's just, we're not going to get another opportunity like that, I don't think, for a while.
For sure.
Well, it's too early to say. 2020 is not over yet. We might...
Could be more lockdowns. Yeah, we never know,
Murder
right?
hornets?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think
we skipped that part.
Nothing surprises me now.
Yeah. That was like chapter 6, and then they're like, "Yeah, don't worry about chapter 6. I'll come back around in chapter 18."
Yeah. I would say I know lots of people who have really been working on themselves and really been working on their connection with their kids, which has been amazing. I've seen families connect and stabilize and find peace and joy and get into nature and you know, learn together. I've seen a lot of opportunities that were made. And so I feel really proud of our community. I know it's not like that for everybody. And there was I'll be honest with you, like it was rough. Like, you know, crisis schooling was not the same thing as homeschooling. Like I read the books, especially with 3 kids in 3 different grades. But we connected and we had a lot of fun together.
Right.
You know, and we learned how to deal with conflict because there was lots of it.
Because you have to. You ain't going anywhere, right?
We're
so we got to work
it
out
together, and it's a small house. And
how old are your kids?
I've got a 6-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a 12-year-old.
Yeah, all right in that sweet spot of either rebellious or destructive, or both.
Or both. No, I have the best kids. They're so sweet and they're so smart and loving, but also like they're children. They're human children, you know, and they sometimes act like it.
Yeah.
As do we.
Well, true story. True story.
I keep saying, get older, but don't grow up. Right? That's sort of my
way
thing.
to do it.
Young at heart, you guys.
Yeah.
Young at heart.
I'll reiterate. I'm wearing a hockey jersey. What does that say about me? Right?
That you have good taste.
Sure. Let's say that. Yep.
I mean, it's
that's what your wife would say
whatever.
for sure.
Oh, that's absolutely what she would not say. But let's say that she would.
Well, you chose her, so obviously excellent taste.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know if I had much say in that too. I'm just glad she reciprocated. That's all I needed. But I'm sure she would love it if the 40 jerseys I have in the basement disappeared. But
that's what makes Reg.
Yeah. She wants me to dress more like an adult, and I'm resisting. But we'll get there.
I had that with Darius yesterday. I'm like, man, I feel like a guy who's like never came out of his high school because I was wearing like a I had like a tap or a wrestling shirt on yesterday. I'm a big pro wrestling fan, so I had like a graphic wrestling shirt on, right? Backwards, flat brimmed hat. We're walking the dog, and I'm like, I look like I never grew out of high school, and I really don't care right now.
If anybody asks, just young at heart.
Exactly.
Just young
right?
at heart.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't know, like
I'm passionate about the things I like.
Yeah.
So I wear them.
That's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
If you put on something and you feel great about it, like that's it.
Yep.
For sure.
That's it.
That's all it should take, but sometimes it's not the case.
True story.
Where was I going to go? I lost my train of thought again. Seems to happen more and more.
Maybe.
Getting older.
But like just owning the things you do like, right? Like there's a lot of people out there, say there's a guy who really likes anime and shit, right? But he might be like kind of like a butch broy dude, so he can't really express that around his friends, right? So he never does get to express that and feel comfortable with that part of himself in the open, right? Like as a pro wrestling fan for years, I felt that. I'm like,
you should still feel that.
Yeah. I'm like, I can't tell anyone that I like wrestling. Exactly, right? I'm it's cool.
You
I have my reasons for liking it.
Shame.
If you don't like it, cool, whatever.
Shame,
right?
shame.
So you shut your dirty mouth, Reg. So except for him, everyone else is cool with it. But no, and that's the thing, right? Like just own it, and then you should be able to be comfortable with it and not have a fear of being rejected or ridiculed. And you might even find a new community of people that you get along with better because you enjoy the same things, right? You don't have to hide yourself.
We all have things.
What would you say is your thing, Angela? That you would embrace that others don't?
Well, like my passion in life is like really neurologically complex kids.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, like
just super
people,
niche, but
it is super niche. But like I have been like, it's been my obsession for like, I want to know every bit of research. I want to be certified in all the things. I want to know all these children. I want every child in the world who has complex neurology to see the strengths of that.
Right.
Because when I was growing up, I didn't know the strengths of that. I wasn't even diagnosed until I was an adult.
And what were you diagnosed with?
I got a list. Just like I got a list of degrees.
Fair.
So I have an anxiety disorder. It was actually diagnosed as a panic disorder because I had panic attacks. Those are delightful.
Yeah.
I have ADHD, ADD combined type because I'm fancy. Right. And I have...
Don't do anything halfway.
Dyslexia. No, I don't do anything half-assed. Okay? I'm also dyslexic, so I have a learning disability, which is super fun. And I have complex PTSD. So I have permanent neurological differences due to trauma.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's quite the laundry list.
It's a good list. I mean, it grows, but it's, it's a good list. I think of it like a parfait.
Right.
Like I've had people be like, it's like an onion, layers and layers. No. I'm not an onion. Okay. Yeah. I'm a parfait.
Yeah.
And I'm used to it. Like I own that stuff. And like my brain, the way that it works and the way that it, like high energy, low energy, managing high charge, the way that I can hear music and I see colors and like so like
one of those. Yeah, what's the term for that?
I don't know. It's
there's a term for it.
Google it quick.
Hit the Google machine.
I listened to it with this lady. She was like in France or something, and she had that, and then so she would listen to music and then paint what she saw.
That's exactly what I do.
You guys
I'm also a painter. I'm also a painter. So that's what I do. I'll take a photo for a series. I'll have an idea of what my art series needs to be. I'll take a photo of it, of something similar to inspire me, and then I'll take the photo and I'll listen to a song on repeat, and then I combine the two, and that's what I put on paper.
Yeah, it's
interesting.
Called chromesthesia. Chromesthesia.
I call it being awesome.
Yeah, it's better. It's easier to say.
Yeah, it's way more. Yeah. So in terms of my neurology, like when I go out in the forest, for example, like the reason I love it in the forest is because I feel the forest. Like I'm on sensitivity scale for sight and sound and touch and taste. Everything is more for me. So being neurologically wired like that, like you can either fight it off and self-medicate and try to deny it, or you embrace it and just like enjoy the deliciousness of life.
It's like a superpower.
Well, if you embrace your shit, then it is like a superpower. If you use your energy, which is limited, to deny it and push it away and manage it, then you don't get to use all your energy to enjoy. Right. So in the last couple of years, I've just harnessed the energy to enjoy life. And it's wonderful. And I want everyone to feel like that, especially the neurologically complex. I don't want them to fight being awesome. I want them to enjoy it. And also, you don't only get to be awesome. You get more challenges than other people too. Right. So you need to learn how to manage your challenges.
It's like opening up your toolkit and finding a use for all the tools as opposed to just keeping them away and figuring, I'll get something later, right?
Yeah. Like I want people to enjoy.
And we only have so much bandwidth anyway, which I think, again, more and more people are getting more familiar with, because with the stresses of life, or even as you get older, whatever, you realize that you only have so much brain power, and sometimes it runs out. On that note, how would you say Winnipeg is on, I don't know, in comparison to maybe other cities or other areas, as far as whether it's community outreach or dealing with these types of kind of social safety nets? Are we doing okay? Because I get the vibe that we're not, but is the city doing all right?
I think, well, obviously Winnipeg's the best, but
also, you don't have to lie
for
us. It's okay.
There are amazing professionals, like
Yeah.
truly. Like, I work with incredible clinicians and social services agencies all over the province, and they're
Okay.
incredible.
Great.
And there's a lot of things that we do really kick ass.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of things that we don't do kick ass yet.
Yeah.
And I say yet because I think that we want to do kick ass for all these kids and families, and working together with different organizations and listening to what families actually need.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's key.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we can't do anything without the population we're serving.
Of course.
You know, and I think that's what makes Inspire different. And that's what's made me different as a clinician, and the clinicians I lead, is that, like, that's the first thing you do.
Yeah,
The first
right.
thing you do is you listen to community.
Yeah.
And then that's where you gather data and research and make a plan.
Yeah.
And then once you make a plan, then you ask again. And you say, like, is this what you meant?
Yeah.
Is this good for you?
Yeah.
And then you listen, you know, and then once you try it out and they're like, actually, this needs to be different, then you change it again.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and that adaptability, that flexibility is super important.
Yeah.
So yes, we're doing great, but also there's lots of room for improvement.
Yeah.
And I would love to see that improvement sooner
That's
rather
great.
than
And
later.
I do get the feeling as well, like in talking with some people, both on the podcast and off, it does feel as though there is some level of of optimism or of movement in the right way in Winnipeg. And I'm glad to hear that is the case, that there's plenty of qualified people. But it's sometimes it doesn't seem like it. You know, Randy and I both work in Winnipeg every day, and sometimes you kind of get the vibe that there's just I don't know, that's kind of stagnant sometimes, you know?
I mean, think what happens is it's really hard to navigate.
Yeah, of course.
And even for myself, like, I've been in social services for 21 years.
Wow, yeah.
Right.
And I've raised my sister who has complex needs and my son who's got complex needs. And like, from being a kid with complex needs to raising my children with complex needs, like, there has been growth for sure.
Right.
But as an expert, as a mental
Yeah.
health and accessibility or disability expert, if I can't find services easily,
Yeah,
we got
right.
a problem, y'all.
For
We got
sure.
a big
Yeah.
problem. And I think too, one of the challenges that I find is that kids, like, inside the city, like, that's not where the only complex kids are.
Of course not.
Like,
yeah.
it's like almost like the services disappear once you get to the perimeter.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
kids aren't supposed to live outside the perimeter.
Yeah.
Like,
There's-
that
there's
confuses
so many
me.
rural areas in this province, and it seems everything's centered in Winnipeg.
Well,
right?
and honestly, like, if I could live rural, I would. But I can't, because my kids are in the city and they
Yeah.
need me to be in the city.
Right,
So
sure.
that's it. They're my priority. That's the way it is.
for sure.
But yeah, lots of room for growth. And that's why, honestly, like, in terms of our mandate at Inspire, I was like, listen, team, we have to be provincial.
Yeah.
We can't be just Winnipeg based. I want to be able to travel wherever families need me to go.
Right.
And they need me to go everywhere.
Yeah.
So let's do it. And I'm so grateful to have the board of directors that I do. They're so passionate about community and they're so supportive of what we do. And then finding clinicians that are willing to drive like
Right.
4 hours.
Yeah.
I mean, they're amazing clinicians and we're
sure.
always growing. So yeah, I feel really grateful. It's happening
That's good.
Good.
slowly.
Good to hear.
I'm very glad to hear that as well. And do you think it gave you an advantage or made it more difficult to, especially with kids with complex needs, as someone who had your own needs? Do you think it helped, like, to now be a parent in that, or to kind of help others?
At first, I wasn't aware that I was different. And so
Okay.
I found it really difficult. And I
Yeah.
remember when my first son was quite small, me still thinking that I was normal. Let's all laugh about that. Okay. And then like trying to be like work full time and a full-time mom and a full-time everything and be this perfect wife and perfect mom and perfect everything. And that pressure of living in a pressure cooker, like I was cooking.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I was like very reactive and angry and like just not a happy human.
Sure.
And I still remember what that was like. And then when I embraced being different, it's like all of the masks, everything just fell away and I could just be myself.
Yeah.
And now having complex kids is like, they're the freaking best.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, like, we're the same person. So
Yeah.
we just get each other. But when I was fighting who I was,
Yeah.
I couldn't.
It's like
Right.
more honest more honest conversation, more honest interactions, which again is something we probably need more of.
Right. And I imagine it helps your kids not put up the same walls you may have put up.
Yeah.
Right. You help them learn it early so they don't grow up either resenting it or having these built-in emotional issues because of it. Right.
Yeah. Well, and we just manage our body and our mind. I mean, some people, they have a different kind of mind and that's great for them, that it's easier for them, but they don't have the same gifts and strengths that we do.
Sure.
So, we have to manage our gifts and strengths and have them for good, but also manage the things that are harder.
Yeah.
So people who are highly anxious are some of the most compassionate humans I've ever met in my life. They're so caring and they're so brilliant in connection to other people. But there's the other side.
Of course.
Yeah.
And so that's what I talk about with my kids, just normalize it.
Yeah.
And so then they're not spending all that energy kind of feeling like, I got to manage my anxiety.
Yeah. What will people think or whatever?
Yeah. Absolutely. And I mean, we've all been there.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah. With different things. But yeah, absolutely. Damn it. There's something I'm going to say again. Well, it's gone.
Lost it, Rich. It's gone. Gone forever.
Yep.
Embrace it. Just let it go.
Yeah. My brain's broken. Or it's leaky or something. I don't know. Got a leaky seal. But I think I don't know what we're going to talk about. Say something. Somebody else. Take it away.
But no, it's good to hear that you are getting people out to the remote areas of the province when you can. And you said like the clinicians, if they're willing to drive those distances to get out there, then they really care.
Yeah.
Right. That's kind of the biggest thing.
Yeah. Well, and I actually I love a challenge. So like the more complex the kid, the better.
Right.
And so they'll be like, Angela, this kid, in Ontario, like they're never going to talk to you. Like they don't even talk to their parents. And I'm like, I accept.
Yeah.
And then I get out there and like, it's the coolest teenager in the whole world.
Right.
And I get to sit with him and he tells me everything. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the coolest human.
Yeah.
And then I write a big report and the school shifts for him and his life is different and new. And it's just like, I have the best job. Like these complex humans are the best.
You're like a Sherlock Holmes for kids.
Kind of.
Yeah.
I feel like it's just like, they're just like, here's the key, Angela. Like I don't really do anything.
Yeah.
Like it's
they
the
just
families.
need somebody to to listen, I guess, is a main thing, right?
Because not all parents are going to understand, right?
No,
they can listen and take it in, but it doesn't mean that they can help them with it, right? Because they just don't have the tools necessarily.
Well, you remember being a teenager? Did you want to tell your parents everything?
No, not a
come
chance.
on now. There's no teenager that tells their parents everything, not even mine.
And if we're being honest, most parents have their own trauma to deal with, right? Which as a kid, you don't even know, but now as you look back, you're like,
so here's the thing. Nobody gets through life without trauma.
No, true.
And at any point in your life, if you want to heal that trauma, you can, because our brains are like elastic. The neuroplasticity of our brain.
Except mine, apparently. But
no, I promise you.
Yeah, I get you.
We got less to remember. Okay, we got less neurons to remember things. But like, if you want to heal trauma and triggers, like you can do it. Like I did it like a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Like I grew up with horrific things, and I didn't want to live like that anymore.
Yeah.
So you find a qualified therapist, somebody that's certified and has got all the things that you are looking for, that specializes in what you're into, and make sure it's a good fit, because not every therapist is going to be a good fit.
True.
So if you try one and you're like, therapy is horrible.
Yeah.
No.
That
therapist is not the right fit for you. They might be the perfect fit for somebody else, but they're not your fit.
Right.
And just, I don't know, invest.
Can you clarify something for me?
Please.
I've always been wondering, what's the difference between a psychiatrist and a psychologist?
Okay, super good. So there's actually also a psychotherapist.
Oh,
so
Jesus.
Let's
okay.
go.
Yeah.
Let's go psychiatrist.
Uh-huh.
A psychiatrist specializes in medication for like diagnosed neurological differences like depression, anxiety, autism, different things. So they medicate. They specialize in medication and multiple medications.
Sure.
Right.
Because a complex neurology might need multiple medications to stabilize to be medically stable.
Yeah.
Just because like, people with low anxiety, they have all kinds of dopamine and like receptors that are working like awesome. Well, I need medication because my brain don't do that. Okay. Yeah. The other piece is a psychologist. They're like a brain doctor.
Oh.
Okay. And they can diagnose. They are usually very highly trained in like different types of therapies. Okay. So like they can process trauma with you. Like they're
They more kind of take you down the road towards a diagnosis, and then the psychiatrist will then, I guess, figure out what they need to give you to try and mitigate that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So like if you want medication to mitigate it, psychiatrist.
Okay.
If you want to work on like therapy stuff,
Yeah.
psychologist.
Ah,
And a
okay.
psychotherapist is a certified therapist
Okay.
who is often trained in a lot of different things. They're not a psychologist, but they're very well trained in therapies, but they cannot diagnose.
Okay. So if there is a hierarchy, depending on, I guess, from like medicated to not, it would basically be psychiatrist, psychologist, psychotherapist, is what you said?
Yes.
Yeah. And there's physiotherapists, they don't count.
No, there's like honestly, like I believe in the wraparound model where like a family can have all kinds of helpers, right?
Sure.
Because a family might really benefit from social work, but they also might really benefit from a psychologist and a psychiatrist and a resource specialist and whatever.
Yeah.
And physio, because physio is awesome. The more complex the family, the more you need a team.
Of course.
Because
it's a community, right?
Yeah, there's so many things. And like you can't, there is no parent, no matter how amazing they are, that can raise these children alone. Yeah. It does not exist.
It's it takes a village approach, I think, right?
You know what? You got a big village for these kids.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and they all got to have different specialties. Because once you deal with one challenge and you're like, hey, I got this one thing dealt with, I'm getting them to eat things. Guess what? New problem tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's what happens with the human
brain. They won't drink. Damn it.
Yeah.
Back to square one.
Yeah, for real. So, you know, we just, for our complex kids, we just have to expect that like once we deal with one thing, it's going to be another thing and just be like, oh yeah, so it's a new thing today. Super good.
That's interesting.
Right. And also one of my favorite things to tell people with complex kids is that they have variable development. So like typical kids, their development is like almost like a straight line, like kind of go upward.
Right.
With complex kids, it's variable, which means in some ways it's like way ahead.
Yeah.
Some ways it's lower. And like it kind of goes on like a light switch. So it'll be lower for a while. And then one day they'll be saying full sentences and you'll be like, what? This is amazing. But try not to make the face.
Yeah.
Right.
Because it's so exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
These complex kids are the best.
I can understand that. Yeah. I mean, that
it sounds like an extremely rewarding job.
Yeah. And like a super problem solving, like, you know, from an analytical sort of outsider perspective, it's like you get to work. It's a different thing every day, or a different person, or different within the same person to be half a dozen different things. So now you're trying to see what thread pulls what, and I guess how to. Wow,
it's a female Batman. Batwoman per se.
Batman's my favorite.
Mine as well. I mean, the Joker poster up in the back.
Oh goodness!
The Harley Quinn tattooed on my legs. So I'm all over that.
We're big Batman fans out here.
You're like the world's greatest brain detective.
Well, I don't know about that. I'm pretty good, and I love it. I love people, and I love humans. Complex humans are my favorite.
We might have to name this episode "Female Batman." We'll see.
There you go.
You should.
All right, it's decided. Female Batman. It is.
I call it actually like addressing pain points, because every human has pain points in their life. There's things that are going awesome. Like you don't need to address that because they're great and celebrated. But there's there for all of us. There's things that are causing us pain, and so you got to address that.
Yeah.
Right. And I get to do that every day.
That's great.
It's super fun.
Yeah, it definitely seems like you enjoy it. I don't know if I'd have the brain power, brain power maybe, but the energy, I guess, or I don't know. I don't even know how to word it. I don't know if I could do it. Is probably a better way to do it. Like with anything, I have family that was working for like Envision, and many of them are in healthcare or home care, that type of stuff. And I'm like, kudos to you. You're all underpaid. And nobody wants to do it because you make $12 an hour to get attacked every day, and you know it's just. Yeah. It's terrible, but kudos to you. And more people need to do that. I don't think I could. You know, I don't know if I have the I don't know, the bandwidth or the.
Yeah, I think it does take a special kind of person.
Yeah, we need to pay them a hell of a lot more
for sure.
That's true. I agree. They need to be paid more. But I love that like some people, they're so gifted at that.
Yeah. In spite of anything, they're not in it for the money. They're not in it for the accolades. They're just there to help people.
Oh, ain't nobody in social services for me. I'm gonna tell you that right now.
Yeah. And less as we go with certain government decisions, I imagine. So that's great. That's super helpful. Yeah. I think we need less money. I think that's what we need to do. Less money and fewer people.
Yeah,
and
also
do better.
Bigger caseloads and more complex humans. Yeah. That sounds perfect.
Yeah.
Sounds perfect.
And spread over a bigger area.
Yeah.
I think is what we need to do. Cut in half and less people. That's problem solved.
You've shown you can make it work with 30, right? What's 25? You can still do it.
It's totally true. Just like teachers, right? Where there's, even COVID aside, they're like, oh, you could teach 28 kids in a class. What's 35?
Exactly.
You know, well, you can do 35. What's 38?
oh, we're going to integrate all of these children with complex needs. Could you also be a specialist for all of these complex kids, please?
Yeah.
And then also don't react like a human and get upset. Ever.
Yeah.
Like if they say the C word, don't be upset.
Yeah.
Don't do it. Don't, you know what? Don't even have a response on your face.
Yeah.
And I don't, like,
Can you be a robot, please?
Could you please be a robot?
Can we pay you less for you to be a robot?
There's no emotion in teaching. Come on.
No.
I love working with teachers because they'll be like, this is some of the challenge. These are the pain points that we're experiencing in this classroom. And I'll be like, wow, that's a lot of pain points. But then we get to problem solve it together and we get to address some of the stuff.
I've heard a little bit of pushback from some people that I know because they now, was it last year or 2 years, something like that? They've now brought, because when we were in school, if there were special needs kids, they'd be in a separate class and they would be just.
Typically, it was the resource room, right? That's where they would get sent to get help with. There'd be more EAs in there to give them the help with whatever they needed.
Which it seemed normal and fine, but now it sounds, the way I understand, I haven't looked into it, but it sounds as though they're bringing everybody into the class. Then they have like EAs assigned to the kids that need help.
I think they get IEPs now.
Yes, individualized education plans.
Through my wife. So they each get their own plan and they have their own EA to work with.
I'm fine with. I just heard some pushback, but I imagine that's a good thing. I imagine you'd advocate for getting them integrated and
where it benefits the child, I love full integration. Where it benefits the child, I like half integration. It depends on the kiddo. But I do like the child to have lots of interaction with lots of really cool people that can see all their strengths and beauty and lots of activities, because usually these kids have very high body charge. So we have to regulate that by having them run around and interact with people. So, but individualized, for sure.
I mean, I guess that's part of the problem with having the school system designed in the way that it is that it's all very across the board. We're either doing this or we're doing that, and there's very little room for.
And even there's a lot more kids that do need IEPs that don't get them because the funding's just not there either.
They also need psych reports. They also need OT reports and support, and there isn't enough resources to go around. You know, and that's often where the families will hire me and we'll bring our team into the school and support them, because educators are doing a great job. They're working as hard as they can. They need more resources, not less. And so we work with tons and tons. We do trainings and, you know, advocacy work and reporting and all kinds of things for supporting community, because really, like, that's what matters, community.
And I feel like having the kids in the classroom helps both sides. I think it helps the child integrate a little more with their peers and stuff, right? I think it also helps destigmatize these things for the peers, right? They don't see it as, well, that's just like the weird kid from the other class.
Well, actually, I was going to say, because when we were in high school, there was the group, and they would occasionally, they'd go for laps, like they'd walk around the school and stuff, and a few of them they would yell a lot, or they would express themselves really noisily. And when you're a 15-year-old kid and you see a guy that looks a little bit different or sounds a little bit different or is in a separate class, and you hear him just yelling for no reason, everybody would just be like, oh, it's just blah, 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 right? And it just becomes a separate us versus them thing, which is what we don't want.
What about that loud kid sense of humor? What about their kindness? What about they're like brilliant at numbers and they actually help other people understand numbers in new ways?
Absolutely.
Like that's the part that like I love to see, because when I was growing up too, like all the different kids, right? And like the language keeps changing and changing. And now, you know, even the word disability has a stigma to it, but all those kids were completely separate, and I never got to talk to any of them. And they were, please excuse this language, but like when I was in grade 1 and grade 2, they were called the weird kids, you know, and like, I'm gonna be honest, I'm pretty weird. Okay. Like I could have been in the class. Okay. But there was just this separation, this dichotomy, them versus us. And it doesn't need to be like that. In fact, it shouldn't be like that. And now, like having my son in a classroom, and, you know, I can bring mini donuts to the whole class with him and help him interact with people in a positive way. And they know him to be funny and kind, right? He enriches people's lives. Is he loud? Well, sometimes, but all humans are. All humans are loud sometimes.
Yeah, it's true.
So I feel like
and if
he
they're not,
blesses
you should be
people. That's right. He blesses people that he touches in his in his life, you know, and they bless him. Right? And like, isn't that what life is? It's just like joy and connection.
For sure. You would think. And that's sort of what we want anyway, right? If we could, so we can have a cohesive society starting within schools or within the household or whatever. And then as they progress, and if they learn skills, like even if they do have challenges or whatever, if they can now learn something or have a friend or have a connection or have something with anybody, that just benefits everybody, right?
It does.
I don't know. It seems silly to I guess, like cut funding and be dismissive and I don't know, try and paint it all with the same brush. It doesn't really work that well.
Well, if you don't teach these children, like my children, like me, these skills when they're children, like itty bitty, when are they going to learn? When they're 25?
Exactly.
And so like my son being integrated has taught him how to be patient and wait his turn and to share and like valuable life skills that every human needs, right? And if he was by himself in a room, he wouldn't be having that.
And there's very often, again, in my experience from people that I've known, if their kid has a disability or a learning disability or any sort of deficiency maybe, or whatever you want to call it, they would often, because they couldn't get through to their kid at home, so they would wait till their kid was 5, send them to school, and let the teachers do it, you know? Like, and then so now which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but in this way, they would almost give up and just let the teacher do all the work, you know, which is not what you want either.
I think part of the problem is, as a parent, like I had a hard time getting my son diagnosed. I knew he was autistic. You know, like I went to the doctor over and over, and I'd like bring my autistic child to the doctor's office downtown, like park over here and walk super far. And like, I'd be like, finally, I was like, I'm not leaving this office till you get him diagnosed. And I'm me, and I'm loud, I'm redheaded, and I'm fiery. And like these other parents have like other barriers, other things in their way. And maybe the reason they're not getting their kid diagnosed or getting help before is because they asked 10 times and they've been told no. Or they asked one time and the doctor told them no. You know, and like it's a whole community.
Too, or not necessarily boys, but an old rigid club, right? Where it seems this is what I learned in 1987 and this is what I'll preach forever. Right? Sort of
there's no growth.
And then
They're
I also
not
see
lifelong learners, damn it.
Well, the thing is, I also know the doctors and people who are diagnosing, and like they have super high caseloads. Like I see their perspective too, right? And a lot of people will say like, oh, like I just want to diagnose this, or I just want whatever. And maybe that's a waste of time. I don't know. But I'll say in my situation, no parent that I've ever talked to that's like, I think something's different here has been wrong. Not one time. So like, you know, it's not like it's 21 years or anything, but it's been a while. It's been a while. And so I generally think like if people have in the pit of their stomach something's different.
I think parental intuition is certainly a thing when it comes to that.
For sure. If they're sick, like you almost know like before they're going to get sick, you know, right? And it's the same thing with neurological differences. They're not doing kind of what you're expecting, you know? And like, you know, by the time you have a bunch of kids and then one of them's different, you're like, something's definitely different. So get it checked out. Because that does happen to teachers too, right? Where all of a sudden there's like 5 kids in your class that are definitely complex, and you're like, no diagnoses, no warning. Now what?
She's been through it plenty of times. She's like, I have a few kids in my class. They're like, they really need someone, but there's not the funding there.
And half the time the problem is they just get put on Ritalin or whatever, even especially when they're a little kid that just has energy.
A quick fix.
If there isn't a diagnosis, you know what I mean? It's just half the time it's just a quick, here, take this pill every day and shut up and sit still, right? Which is
and we actually coach parents on how to like even dress and talk and advocate for their children so that doesn't happen. Because sometimes medications are great. Right? That's exactly what that kid needs. But also there's like 400 things in addition to that. That's going to be really helpful. And so I guess those are the parents, those are the families that we adore the most, that they're like, they're hungry for information if they could actually find it.
For sure.
You know, and not everyone's ready to hear all the things. But
I wonder why do you think that there is kind of a wall or a barrier or something to getting to even finding, like what makes it so difficult to find the resources that we need? Is it just not all streamlined? Is there too much bureaucracy? Is it all of that or more?
There's no streamlining.
Oh, is that the problem? It's too decentralized? Or?
It's like, I know that we've worked really hard as a community to get it centralized and to have some streamlining services and stuff. But for example, like even when you go trying to get some service that's like covered by the Manitoba government, it says online that you can self-refer.
Right.
And then you try to self-refer and then you can't. So there's misinformation a lot of the time, which is one of the reasons why we don't need any referrals and we don't need any diagnoses. And we actually help navigate through the system because it's so difficult. Like I said, like I have a hard time navigating the system.
Sure. And if you do, then most people will.
If you're in it and you have a hard time getting through it, it's
I'm an expert. It's not you, it's the system. And you know what? It's not really any different anywhere else.
That's
I mean,
fair.
I want to say like there's parts of BC and there's parts of Toronto that you go to one place, you get the diagnosis, you get all the care. And we're starting to work on that, but we're still not quite there yet.
No. Slow and steady wins the race, right? So we're going to start dialing it down here soon, but I was curious, how many people either currently work or volunteer, or kind of what's the structure at Inspire right now?
We've got 15 staff.
Okay.
Plus 2 students. 3 students now, pardon me. And then we also have a board of directors, which are volunteers, and they're amazing.
Nice.
And then we have, in addition to that, like part-time volunteers as well. So like, 20-ish.
Nice.
Yeah.
And is that
excellent?
Is that growing? Are you hoping that it continues to grow, or kind of how does that? What's your goal for, say, 2021? Let's say
2021. We are growing exponentially.
Good.
Like in the last year, like we've only got charity status on the last, I guess, 2 years.
Okay.
We have we've grown from like a couple of people to now 20 people. Like it's going really, really well.
That's good.
We've got some different funding starting to come in bits and pieces. We've just gone provincial, so we've got satellite locations in the Interlake and then also in Dryden. So like inviting people to like use those services.
Right.
We're sliding scale. So that means we go based on income, which is like a lot of charities supporting families.
Sure.
But yeah, like more outreach, more education and training for educators and professors and service providers, and then lots more in-home family stabilization supports and assessments.
That's good. And so it's mostly charity based?
Yeah, like we're an incorporated charity.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So then on that, so I meant more donation based, but yeah.
Yes.
So on that note, let's plug some stuff. How do people find your mission? How do they find Inspire? If you want them to, how do they find you? Where should people
definitely want you to find us. InspireCommunityOutreach.ca is our website.
Okay.
And you can actually, if you want to have care, you just register. The application was actually made by parents, so it's super short and super helpful for us to have. None of this like 10 pages business.
Legalese.
So it's essentially you register and you have somebody like our intake specialist contact you by email to book an appointment. You don't need a diagnosis by a doctor to have our support. If you're struggling, then we accept you.
Okay.
If you're like a parent who's got a child ages 3 to 29, then welcome to Inspire.
Wow. That's great.
We also have some flexibility. Sometimes there's people who are over the age of 29 and that have been looking for therapy that's appropriate to their complex neurology for like 10 years.
Yeah.
And then for a short time, we'll help stabilize them and then get them on their way.
Right. For sure.
So yeah, you can email us on there. You could email me at angela@inspirecommunityoutreach.ca. Sorry, It's so long. And there's a contact us on our website, but yeah, just reach out to us. We have lots of resources for free, but also we can help you navigate the system, or we have got that sliding scale. So we can give really good care, which you deserve, in a timely manner.
Ooh, right. That's nice.
None of this 9-month, 1-year, 2-year waiting list business. Yeah. None of that. Okay.
Yeah.
We got a couple weeks and we'll be right there for you.
Quick and easy.
Easy.
Yeah. Quick and easy. Fantastic. So while we're talking about social media stuff, find us on Instagram at 2 Idiots Podcast, on Facebook, 2 Idiots Podcast, and on Twitter, 2 Idiots Show.
And by email, doubleidiotspodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, if you could use a hand and you can't find them for whatever reason, feel free to send us a message and we'll pass it along.
We will connect you.
Yeah, absolutely. We check our spam folder regularly, so hope you don't end up in there with the people that are offering us money and website help and
all the
whatever
Nigerian
else.
princes that are offering us
there's a lot of people
millions.
that really want to reach out to us that, thinking about it. We might, there was a lady I read one yesterday afternoon. What was it now? Her family had something to do with gold mining in the Philippines, I think. It sounded really legit.
So we're rich is what you're saying.
Yeah. Gotcha. I was waiting to tell you. But, so we're loaded now. We're going to quit the podcast.
Next time you join us, we'll be in a studio in LA somewhere.
Yeah, we're going to build a tower somewhere and live on our Filipino gold. But anyway, Absolutely. So reach out to Angela if you need a hand. I think it's a great message. I'm glad you reached out to us to come on the show.
Yeah, you're doing the Lord's work out there. I'm glad there's it's not even facetiously I'm saying that. No, honestly, like I love the work you're doing. I'm glad that there's people out there advocating for kids that need help and have issues and stuff and need help resolving and being at peace with themselves and doing what they can. It's a good thing. It's something I'd love to have for my daughter if something ever happens.
Absolutely.
So I'm very thankful that you're out there doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's honestly it's my greatest pleasure. My greatest pleasure to do what I do.
It sounds like it. You sound very passionate and interested because, again, we all know, people either social servants or social workers, whatever, that, that they're just kind of going through the motions or they're just sort of, they're there and they, maybe when they were younger, they had a fire for it and it just sort of beat them down or whatever.
They're just there for the job and then there's those that are there to go above and beyond, right? So,
And again, I'm super thrilled that we seem like a platform worth going on to because we are just a couple of boneheads that talk about goofy shit.
I feel like we could have kept going here. There's definitely we save a lot of guests, but I feel like there's a part 2 in the future.
Well, there might have to be. There might have to be. Once you open up a store in Steinbach, Once you open up a satellite location in Steinbach, maybe we'll have you back, or write a book, or do something.
I'm almost finished my memoir.
Oh, all right. Well, when that's ready, we'll have you on.
Awesome.
Yeah. Fantastic. Awesome. So thank you again for joining us. Folks out there, if you're new to the show, feel free to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. 5 stars would be appreciated. 1 star, not so much. But if you feel like it, that's fine too. Leave us a review, rating, all that type of stuff. Follow, subscribe, all that stuff.
All the good stuff. 5 gold stars.
Yep.
Send them our way.
I'll give you a crisp high 5. And so again, thank you for joining us. This is fun.
It's been awesome.
Thanks for having me, you guys.
You bet. All right, folks. Thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you learned something. Or not. But have a good day.